So again, I'm Dr. Paul with Chiropractic Personal Injury Marketing, and we're talking with Dr. Seamus. And the reason we wanted to talk with him is Dr. Seamus significantly increased his personal injury. Um, how much would you say you increased your personal injuries? Of course, your satellite office accounts for about 170, 80 visits, and then you increased your office, what, about 150 to 200 visits?
Yeah.
Because I think you were seeing around 300 when I first saw you, right? Now you're over
Yeah.
500.
Yeah.
So that's 250 plus 150, 250. So 250, 354. So easily 450 to 500 patient visits a week, personal injury, right?
Correct.
Personal injury. And your dollar per visit, I think is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah. We're around $75.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a real fair dollar per visit.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, you're in California, you don't do anything crazy. You don't have, imagine if you were in a state like Florida, I think, would you say your average PI case was like 2,500 or something?
Yeah. 25 right around there. Yeah.
I mean, man, imagine if you were in some of these other states like Florida, your income would be doubled seeing those numbers.
Yeah.
So roughly 500 visits a week at 5 times 7 is 35,000. So that's easily over $1 million, $1.5 million roughly increase your practice. So you were doing pretty good. You were seeing 300 a week before you got to me. So you knew something. And it's Dr. Seamus's brother, they're both chiropractors. So you were somewhat busy. Um, and then you got to me, and then you started doing our personal injury. How quickly, when you started doing our personal injury marketing, did you notice things significantly increase?
I mean, right away, we did that one seminar, I don't know how many years back, we had about 30 or 40 law firms there,
Yeah.
and then they're like, well, dude, this is all good information, but we need an office in this area. That's when we opened that Riverside office up there.
So would you say that that particular event was a major skyrocketing event?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But you did a really good job. I mean, you did a really good job of marketing that thing to get them there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's fantastic when we get 30 attorneys. I remember we did one with you and we had 50, I think it was 54 attorneys in the room.
Something like that. Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember the marketing that went in to do that. You worked your butt off to get them there.
Yeah.
So, all right. So anyway, so you were doing personal injury before, you're doing okay, but you significantly increased it. Let me ask you, when you first started learning our documentation, what I call high sensitivity, high relevancy documentation, um, and you'd been in practice maybe 20 years or so, how much of that did you know before relative to new? How much new personal injury material did you know when you started with me?
I
Just
mean,
on a percentage basis, maybe.
I don't know, maybe 20, 30%. Who knows? I don't know.
Is what you knew prior to joining me?
I mean, I knew personal injury, but to say the documentation just took it to a whole different level,
Right, right,
all the value drivers that you give us in those reports and everything. Yeah.
right. Okay. So the documentation was significant. And then what's interesting with you is, we teach 10 solid marketing programs. And I don't like to say this to clients, but I say with you didn't even fool with 9 of them. You just went right to the personal injury attorney educational sales presentation, and that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
You didn't fool with anything else.
Not really. No, no.
Yeah, because I remember kind of chiding you a little bit, saying, I'd at least do them, and you're like, no, and of course, that's where it's at. That's the big deal is the personal injury attorney, getting attorneys to be able to refer your clients. Do you remember what you thought when I first went over the formula with you? And I go, well, this is why attorneys don't refer, and this is how you get them to refer. Do you remember when I covered that, what you thought?
Vaguely.
Do you remember if you were doing anything close to what I taught?
No, no, no.
Yeah, because it's not even taught in chiropractic.
Yeah.
So, and then you start doing the personal. And how do you remember how your very first presentation went?
It went awesome. I mean, they just ate it up. They just say, we've never heard anything like this before,
So your very first presentation, you found success.
Yes.
It was that fast. Did that shock
Yeah.
you?
Um, yeah. Yeah. You think these guys know it all, but they were clueless. Yeah.
Well, also you'd already been practicing what, 20, 25 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you picked up all this new material, you go in there and immediately, so the first time you did it immediately worked. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. That had to be pretty that had to be pretty exciting to see that happen.
Oh yeah. You just want to keep pouring gas on that fire. Yeah.
And then you just followed up with that, didn't you? How did you do that? You went from one attorney to the next and kept doing the presentations?
Yeah.
And then did you do much of a campaign to get in, or did you just flat out make cold calls, go visit them and things
Yeah.
like that?
Just cold calls and visit them. Yeah. Just like that. Yeah.
Now, it's not that easy. So did you get rejected a lot and stiff armed a lot?
Um, just I mean, I don't take it personal. I don't, I just blow it off like whatever. Um, but some people there's kind of like, oh, my way's that my way works. And I said, okay, well, you're losing out on, one case. If you got 10 cases a year, you're
Yeah.
losing out on about over $100,000. So that's your loss. So thank you for your time. So if you're interested in collecting an extra 100,000 plus a year, give me a call and we'll talk some other time.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you took a position of strength right off the bat.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's actually good because you know how a lot of the younger guys are so intimidated by attorneys.
Yeah.
So yeah, we see that, and then also a lot of times they're afraid to talk to them, or if they can't get in because they think it's when they don't know any better, they don't realize that you have to do certain things to get in depending on the type of attorney it is, certain marketing things. In other words, everybody's not just going to open the door, come in and say, sell me, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I guess what I'm trying to say is you've had your share of resistances and rejection with
Yes.
attorneys trying to get in.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, I always say when we do the campaign, like I teach how to do the campaign, and I say if you do the campaign right, those are steps that get you in the door to do the presentation. I always say if you do that, you'll get appointments about 70% of the time. What's your experience? More than 70%, less than 70%?
I would say around, 70% plus or minus. It depends what's going on, also the time of year, those little things.
But the bottom line, I guess, that I'm trying to get across right now is it's not 100%, is it?
No, it's not 100%. No.
Yeah. I remember a doctor called me, one young guy out of school, no experience. I taught him the basics. We did it. And he gets a little bit of rejection the first attorney. In other words, the attorney didn't just open up his arms and say, yeah, come on in. And he comes kind of whining back and goes, the attorney want to meet with me. And I'm like, man, if that's how you're going to live your life, you're in trouble, buddy. So yeah, but that's the only point I'm trying to make is that it wasn't just easy. You didn't just make a phone call and they all accept you and you just go sell them and that was that, right?
No.
Yeah. And I know better, but the audience doesn't know better. I know that you put the time in to bust down these barriers. You busted down a lot of barriers to get to these meetings and make these contacts, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah.
What were some of the other things you did to get their attention to get to the meeting?
Just talked about, proper, with our MRI facilities that we work with, having them put the proper terminology, instead of having disc bulge, that's due to old age. We want herniation protrusion is due to trauma. We want that in that, I've educated the neuroradiologists what to put in the reports. I said, if you guys aren't putting this in there, I'm not using you. So you're losing out on money. So, that protrusion is hitting the thecal sac, which is pain sensitive. All those little things, neuroforaminal encroachment. I don't want to be, talking, focusing on just bulge and with osteophyte formation. I want to talk about the ligaments, the trauma to the ligaments.
I tell you what, I can't tell you how many times I've said you've got to train your radiologist. And again, I have so many chiropractors that are just intimidated, and these radiologists have no clue about spinal biomechanics.
Zero. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's very helpful for your injured cases. So you start getting referrals, and then you've learned. Then we actually had you do our narrative report, our 12-step narrative report, right?
Correct.
And how did they like that?
Oh, they love it. They love it. Yeah.
It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just talking to one of my clients the other day, and her offer went from 15,000 to 55,000 just from her narrative report.
Yeah.
Her attorney was blown away.
Yeah.
And by the way, that attorney was sold. That was through an educational sales presentation that got the referral, and then the narrative report kind of sealed the deal.
Yeah.
And that's how that works.
Yeah.
So you start building your practice, you start dealing with the attorneys, and then you were doing one-on-one presentations, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then how good would you say you were about going through the formula? In other words, going through the 10 categories, identifying them, getting them to admit they're not getting it documented, going through the possible obstacles and service factors. How good would you say you were at that?
I would say I was pretty good. I say I could be better, but I kind of, you get to see if they're open to listening or they're just like shutting you down. Like they don't want to hear how much they're losing. I mean, it was kind of, I guess I could have been a little bit more aggressive with some guys, but I just said, okay, it's your loss. If you don't want to hear it, you're shutting me down and you're arguing with me about this and that. I go, it's your loss. So I'm just here to help you. So, I mean, and also not to help you, but help your injured clients would be our patients. I'm trying to help you, get the best compensation for those guys. So you'll have more referrals coming in from those people, not, so yeah. So
Did you, when that happened, did you kind of back off a little bit and try to do micro steps a little more?
a little bit. Yeah, I try to, but it depends on, that choleric personality.
Well, that's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, some of those guys, you just can't tell them anything.
Nothing.
The train's coming, and they're like, no, it's not. Uh, it is interesting because there's always enough attorneys out there. And haven't you found this? And by the way, your main office is in we won't say the name, anything, but your main office is in a population of what, 30,000?
When I grew up here, it was 300 people, and now it's about 100,000.
Oh, it's that big now.
Yeah, it's that big. It's just out of control. It's just growing. I mean, all that, farmland, they're just developing. Yeah, it's 100,000. It's hitting almost 100,000. Yeah, it's crazy.
And we found pretty much that it doesn't matter what size the town you're in. I was in a town of only 3,000.
Yeah.
And I had 2 full-time associate doctors seeing 350 a week. But we found that even if you just have a handful of attorneys, you'll pretty much, there'll be 1 or 2 of them that, you can't get through to, they're just stuck in their ways, but there's always some there willing to listen, that are willing to do better and not only help themselves, but the client. Is that pretty much what you found?
Yes, totally. Yeah.
How about how we talk about the different types of attorneys, the C attorneys, the B attorneys, and the A attorneys, and we talk about the difference in difficulty of getting the different referrals. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you first started, did you focus on like A, B, or C attorneys? Which ones did you focus on?
Mostly in the beginning, the B and C, the mom and pop shops, that get, maybe 6 or 7 PI cases a year. They do, divorce, they do everything. But they do get, they get a PI case here and there, and we get referrals from all those guys. Yeah. Yeah.
And is it obvious to you the difference in the difficulty in communicating with them versus the big time A attorneys?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't even talk to an A attorney. You just have to talk to their paralegals. Yeah. And it's like you're talking to a clueless person.
Sorry. Do you even waste your time going after those anymore, or you just stick with the B attorneys?
Yeah, B and C attorneys all day long.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I tell it to chiropractors and they learn it. And then a lot of times they'll have success with the first C attorney and they run right to the A attorney. And a lot of times it's not even knowing the information. I had one guy, he couldn't even get the information out because he didn't know how to control the room. So he actually accidentally got in with the A attorney, but he didn't even have the experience to control the room of a group of alpha males. And they just railroaded him and tapped him on his little behind and sent him on his way. And it had nothing to do with the content. He just didn't know how to control a room.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see that a lot too. And that's why I say, man, there's so much business out there with B and C attorneys. So you start lining up the attorneys and then you follow up with them pretty good, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't just get a referral and then never talk to them again.
Oh, no, I always call them. I call them, once a quarter and just say, hey, how you doing? Just checking in, see if you need any help. If you have any difficult cases that they went, some Cairo or somewhere, they went, they're out of town, but, I can see them just doing evaluation, see if you're missing any MRIs or any, computerized radiograph, the range of motion, the muscle testing, just see if you're missing something that can help increase that, get another extra 10 or $15,000,
So
Yeah.
is that the only follow-up you do? Do you do any other?
Well, I stop, I'll stop by, once a year, once or twice a year and just drop off some goodies and just say, hey, just thank you for the referrals. We're here for you and just appreciate everything that you do for our community or, your clients, just little things like that. And I don't spend like 80, $100. I just get like, like a Trader Joe's or even, my wife hates it though. I'll go by Walmart and get some cupcakes and she's like, oh, you're so cheap, but I'll just stop by and drop them off.
It's not, and of course, this, it's not the value of what you drop off. It's just the thought. But of course, these are attorneys you've already won over and sold, right?
Yeah, yes.
And so, but you don't necessarily have a follow-up education plan in place, do you?
No, I don't. No.
I mean, it's really just the live streaming that I do maybe 3 times a year, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You kind of use that as your educational tool to kind of keep them engaged in, what's going on and how it works and keep them in the loop. So is that fair to say that after you sell them quarterly, you'll do a live? And by the way, a live call is fantastic. I always recommend a live call once a week and just say, hey, can I help you? It's amazing what a freaking live phone call can do for awareness. Have you found that? And I said this all the time. You'll call somebody and the attorney go, I was just thinking about you. I got this case here. How many times does that happen?
That happens. It happens. Yes.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
Call them and they go, oh, yeah, by the way, I got this case here. I was thinking about you.
Yeah. That happens all the time. Yeah.
So you already sold them. You'll make sure you contact them at least quarterly. And then they're plugged into our educational sales presentations quarterly. So, that's not bad. It's working for you, isn't it?
Oh yeah. It's a no-brainer, man. It's easy street, man. It's just cruise control. Yeah.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, so much so you hired your first associate doctor for let's see, I think you actually opened your satellite office before you hired an associate doctor in your main office, didn't you?
Yeah. I did, we did that presentation. They said, oh, it's great information, but we don't have any doctors you don't have someone like you in the city. So we're shit out of luck, excuse my language, but it doesn't do us any good. And I said, well, here's the deal. If I open an office here, you promise you'll refer to me. And they said, there's like 4 law firms. They said, yeah. And sure enough, we started, just rented a room from one of my pain management doctors that was up in that area. And before you know it, now that office is just pure PI, about 170 patients a week, and
and I remember I was actually surprised how quickly it got up to 170. John even hit 200 visits a week there for a while.
Yeah.
So
he's right around, I'm sorry, he's around, he's about a little over 200, but mostly it's all PI, but we get a few little, insurance or people refer family members, that type of stuff. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. But I remember I was actually even surprised because I think within 3 months, he was over 100 visits a week, PI?
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
I mean, it was like, and then 6 months, you seeing like 200 visits a week. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
but that's exactly, what we teach. Get the attorney, sell them, find out where you have several of them. Because we don't want to be dependent on one attorney saying, yeah, I'll refer you if you go here. I'm like, no, we don't want to do that. So you had at least 4 law firms saying, yeah, go to this location. And that's exactly what we teach. And that's one of the easiest offices you'll ever do. Hire an associate, treat them well. And he's seeing 200 visits. And it's pretty amazing because I'll tell people, I'll say, you're hiring an associate doctor for a satellite office. They've never heard that before. I mean, because it's pretty rare that a satellite office, and by the way, I am not talking about this type of satellite office where you actually run your ass back and forth. That is not the way to do it. I mean, you want to burn out and spend more time and all that. I mean, you do not want to do that. So we're talking about actually getting it open with the referrals that we've already sold the business. We're just not there. We hire the chiropractor, train him in the documentation, put him in there, and boom, just like that, you've got a 200 visit a week personal injury office. And then now you need an associate doctor. I remember I was talking to you a few weeks ago and you said, how many personal injury cases a week do you get between both offices? Remember? I remember the number because I was kind of shocked myself.
Per week, we see, gosh, probably about close to 50, almost 50 a week, new
Yeah,
PIs.
that's what I remember you saying, 50.
Yeah.
I tell other doctors that and they just can't even believe it. They're like,
Yeah.
how the hell? And of course, that's why I wanted to speak with you, just get them to see that, yeah, this is exactly how you do it.
Yeah.
So we open that second office, it takes off, and then your main office starts growing. And then, so you hire your first associate for your main office, which was your second associate doctor. That keeps growing. And then you hire your third associate. So your second associate in your main office, and then you got your satellite office with your full-time associate. And now you're looking to hire an associate for your satellite office. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going pretty good.
Yeah.
And so the visits are around 400 to 500, about a 1.5 million roughly increase. If you had to do it all over again, if you had to start from scratch knowing this material, how fast do you think you could get your practice up to $1 million knowing this material?
I mean, she's probably easily in 6 months.
For you, knowing what you know now,
Yeah.
it'd be pretty easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always say $1 million in 18 months. I said, if you don't know this, I said, if you just apply it in 18 months, you'll increase your business $1 million. Is that a fair statement?
It's totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys looking at any third location now?
We are, but we're just on hold right now. But eventually, this next year, yeah, we're somewhere near the summertime, up in the
Don't say
hills.
the location.
I
Yeah.
will. Yeah.
Chiropractors, they'll think it's the location that's doing it.
Yeah, it's not the location.
Not what you know.
It's not the location. Yes.
Uh,
It's where Dr. John wants to live.
oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, open office there. I want to live there. I said, okay, well, we'll look into it.
Boy, that would be easy to shift him over to that office.
Oh yeah, no, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Wow. So I want to just make sure I covered all the main points. So Dr. Seamus Harry started with us seeing, him and his brother chiropractors. They were seeing about 300 a week when they started with me as a consultant. But you actually learned a lot more than personal injury. You became a consulting client pretty fast, if I remember.
Yeah.
In other words, when I say that for the audience, I cover all the categories, patient education, how to hire, how to train, how to manage, just everything about running the business, how to hire, train, and manage associate doctors. How well did that work out? Your very first associate doctor, we go into how to hire, train, market, hire, and train. How well did that work out for you?
It went awesome. I couldn't thank you enough. I still can't thank you enough.
Are these criteria for associate doctors pretty accurate or what?
Say that again, Paul.
The criteria that we use and how to hire, train, and manage, are they pretty accurate or what?
I would say very, very accurate. Yes.
It
It's
is
like
actually.
it's like hitting. It's like don't need a scope to hit the bullseye. It's right on. Yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. But of course,
Yeah.
it took me a lot of failures to find out what worked. So, but yeah, we tightened that up real nice, how that works. So then he maxes out his satellite office. He's seeing 200 there. He goes from 300 to 500 in his main office, increases business, over $1 million. How's quality of life been?
Well, me and Sean, we fight on the days who could get the powder days in the local mountains, or who gets to surf the offshore winds on weekdays. Yeah, it's a battle now.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Dr. Seamus and his brother are really good surfers in California. You guys go surfing, what, 2 or 3 times a week?
Yes.
To go surfing you go snow skiing in the winter up there. How many times a month you go snow skiing in the winter?
I mean, at least once or twice a week.
Let's try, yeah. That's quality of life right there, man. Quality of life. So let me open it up here, see if anybody has any questions for Dr. Seamus here. So unmute. So if you want to ask a question, just hit your red button and you can ask anything with Dr. Seamus about how basically he built a major empire. And you pretty much, would you say that all happened in about a year and a half from the time you were seeing 300 in your office to opening the satellite office?
Yeah.
About a year and a half, yeah.
Yeah.
So any questions for Dr. Seamus? Hit your red button.
Hey, Doc. Appreciate the story. What I noticed that you're having a meeting about new software and stuff like that. What did you use to manage all this? Because it sounds like you really volumed and everything went up drastically. So that's a lot more taking care of everything. I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're using a ChiroTouch for all the doctors, all the information goes into ChiroTouch, so they're really good.
Now you modified it with our information, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what's important is that the information that we have is put into your system.
Yeah, it's all put it. Yeah, you have to put all that in
more
there.
than your system.
Yeah.
Because people think they can just buy a software and that's all you have to do. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
No. I'm in about 15 minutes. I'm with ChiroTouch. Yeah, we got a major thing going on with all the staff and how to improve what we already have. So yeah.
So it's not the software as much as you knowing what to put into the software.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're a great company. They help you. They're totally tuned in to what you need, and their customer service. They're great. Yeah. So I highly recommend them.
Yeah. One of the ones I'm working with actually that's going to be implementing my system for the doctors that work with me is Z-Health. So the doctors that join Z-Health through me actually already get all the documentation in the software. So that helps a lot. Any other questions? If you have a question, just hit your red button there. All right, we'll leave it like that. And then appreciate Dr. Seamus taking time out to share this with us. It's kind of hard to find a chiropractor who's willing to be open and share what helped him become successful. That's kind of rare. So we appreciate Dr. Seamus taking time out. And he's just created one really good, machine. Basically, it's a machine. It's like a personal injury machine on autopilot is what he created. So, and it's just using all these systems and applying them. So, all right, Seamus, appreciate it. We'll let you. I know you got to get going. Appreciate it.
All right, Paul. Good luck, everyone. Just do what Paul says. It all works. Have a great day and happy holidays.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye.
So the last thing I'd say is that's what every damn chiropractor should be doing. What Seamus is doing. There's no reason. There's 92% of the population doesn't go to chiropractors. 3 out of 4 of them have a chiropractic problem. Only 33% of personal injury cases go to chiropractors. 2/3 of them do not. There's a shitload of business out there. You just got to know how to, you just got to know how to do it. And then you just got to put one foot in front of the other and just go get it. And that's what Seamus did.